if I may say, books like these are a little bit scary. Just the word power can have many connotations, but as I read it, I was instantly fascinated and enthralled. And I've never read anything like this before. So let's do a series on this book, and today we're going to start with The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Law number 1, never outshine the master. Greene writes, always make those above you feel comfortably superior. Don't go too far in displaying your talents, or else their fragile egos might shatter. And they do have fragile egos, don't they? Your job is to make them seem like they're the sun, and you're just a star in the sky. You're a random star. And in other words, they're the lead actor, and you're a supporting actor, okay? So it's all about them. Nicolas Fouquet was Louis XIV's finance minister, and he loved poetry and wine and women like many artists do, and he was Louis XIV's go-to, and so he'd call him up if he had women problems. Hey man, what's going on? Let me tell you about my hemorrhoids. You know, private stuff. And when the prime minister retired, Nicholas he just assumed that he'd get the job because he's like best friends with Louis XIV, but then he didn't. Oh, heart shatters. The prime minister retired and they just gave the job to someone else. How annoying is this? How utterly, totally annoying is this? Stunned, Nicholas thought, oh no, the boss doesn't like me anymore. Or does he? You know, boss/friend. Am I following out of favor? I better throw him a party. I gotta do something here. We're gonna have to get crazy. A little Saturday Night Fever, John Travolta action. So Nicholas calls up all his buddies, gets on the phone, gets the DJs over, gets Justin Bieber on the line, and throws them this huge party with wine and women and music and poetry. And again, they got the Beliebers there. Miley Cyrus is in the corner. I mean, all Kanye West is there. And oh my God, this is a great party, everyone is saying. In fact, this is the best party I've ever been to. The best ever thrown in the history of our lives. Does he like me now, Nicholas thought, trying to gauge his superior from across the room. The next day, there's a knock at his door, Nicholas's door. Ding, 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 ding. And it was the Musketeers. Now, the Musketeers back then could be sort of seen as like the cops, but they had the swords instead of the guns, and the cops were at the door, right, Musketeers? You're under arrest. But why? What do you mean I'm under arrest? Nicholas had no idea. Unfortunately for him, his party was a little bit too good, okay? The king didn't know Justin Bieber, he didn't know Kanye West, and so Nicholas was arrested for stealing from the treasury. And side note, half of that money, the king allowed. The king just was allowing that on the side anyway, so it was sort of an excuse, wasn't it? Nicholas was sent to solitary isolation somewhere in France to get butt raped for the rest of his life. And Greene didn't say that, but we're kind of all thinking it, aren't we? And meanwhile, the king amped up his game. Of course he did. And he threw parties that now they had to be, because Nicholas threw this huge party. So now his party had to be like a million times better than Nicholas's. Before this, the king's party was really sucked. Really bright lights, you got a couch and stuff. But now everything is dark and you got all the people hiding in the corners. When the evening began, Fouquet was at the top of the world. By the time it had ended, he was at the bottom, said Voltaire, from 1694 to 1778. So even Voltaire knew this. Dang it, Nicholas. Man, you screwed. You threw too big of a party. Now let's look at Galileo. He was a starving artist who always had to beg. Artist. Look at me, I just said artist. I meant scientist. Projecting. He was a starving scientist who always had to beg for his money. And usually when he made a discovery, he thanked his fellow scientists. Hey, getting up the journals and everything. But not this time, because this time he had a plan. In 1610, he had just discovered the moons of Jupiter. Really big knowledge. With his telescope, who has one of those? So what does one do with this is the question. Well, the Medicis, the Medici dynasty, those guys, their symbol was Jupiter. And Cosimo I in 1540 made Jupiter their symbol because Jupiter was obviously linked to the gods. It's just ginormous. So what does Galileo do with this knowledge? He turns this discovery of Jupiter, into a cosmic event. The gods ordain this. They're looking down, obviously, on the Medicis here. And look, the number of the moons on Jupiter harmonize with the Medicis, strangely enough. This is not a mistake. There's something going on here. There are 4 moons, just like the 4 suns, who revolve around Cosmo, i.e., Cosmo is a god. Obviously, he's the founder of the dynasty. Because why else would there be 4 moons wandering around Jupiter? In 1610, Cosmo made Galileo the official court philosopher and mathematician with a full salary. Before this, Galileo was begging. He was a begging pauper, just begging on the streets. And it just shows what a little ass kissing can do. Little good old, But don't go overboard or wind up like Nicholas Fouquet. I mean, how scary is that? Off in Siberia. And let's not pick on Galileo for butt kissing, okay? Everyone has to have a master. Everyone, like in that Bob Dylan song, everyone is a slave to someone. Do you remember that? There's a time and place to be political. And all these masters want is to be seen as smarter and more fun and more intelligent and more creative, more good looking, with their shaved legs than everybody else. That's all they want. They just want to be better than everyone. And is that really too much to ask? Is that too much to be asking today? So don't flaunt your gifts and talents in front of these masters. These guys, for all intensive purposes, are egomaniacs. And if you do this and show how well you can play piano, then the master is going to replace you with someone who sucks at the piano and isn't as good looking and can't talk to the women as well as you can. You're going to get replaced, okay? Someone who can do a better Yoda imitation than you. Of course, someone a little less threatening. This is rule number 1. Don't outshine your master. And if you can't help being so charming, you better mute that shit. Pull it back, okay? Wear some glasses that are, put some glasses on that. Change your clothing. Why do you think I wear glasses sometimes? I gotta calm this down. And if you say something amazing that blows everyone away, just let everyone know who the real master is, okay? What you're saying is just an echo of the masters. I'm just echoing the master. The master, if I say something amazing and clever, it's the master talking through me. So I'm just a lonely pauper. The master's up there. I'm down here. Can you spare some grits, sir? Can you spare some grits? Okay, it's that type of relationship. And of course, there will come a time when your master will weaken. And at that point, you gotta go all in. You gotta do it, okay? See? Knife. Pull off the shank. And you can see, you see why I'd want to do a series on this book. I mean, when I say I take him out, though, I don't mean kill him, okay? I know I did the knife and the shank there, but don't think that. Greene is just saying that you can outshine him, like after he's retired. Gauge his strength. All masters fall, and one day, you will be the sun. Thank you so much for joining me today. We had another awesome time. It's just a privilege hanging out with you. And please, subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to hit the thumbs button and send me a comment, because I love to talk with you. Meanwhile, I hope you're having a fantastic week. We're putting out 3 videos currently per week. So I'll see you really shortly. It was great, as always.